I'm actually trying to catch up on so much DC material that I haven't seen in the past. So we're gonna kind of segue here. I've never seen Smallville up until last year. Never watched it. And so now I'm currently on season 7 of Smallville. I'm trying to kind of what I'm doing with the MCU and how to restructure it. I'm trying to do that with DC because I can clearly see where a lot of the foundation of the DC universe has not begun in the films, but if you track it to shows like Arrow or Smallville, the core essence of this DC universe they're creating kind of starts with these shows like Smallville, like Arrow, like The Flash, and I'm going to do a video on that later, and I hope you guys will be there for it. I hope you'll enjoy it. But I never watched Smallville. I didn't grow up as a fan of Smallville, and my first big foray into DC TV was with the Arrowverse, was with Arrow, was with The Flash. And I know that those shows really only exist because of Smallville, but I never got around to watching Smallville for one reason or another. Just I wasn't excited to watch them. I don't know why. I mean, I was intrigued. I had seen clips, but the only thing I'd ever seen Tom Welling in prior to Smallville was the Cheaper by the Dozen movies with Steve Martin. But other than that, I never checked out Smallville, and the first time I was exposed to him as Clark Kent was in the Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover they did in 2019 and 2020 for the Arrowverse. And so I never got on the Smallville train up until recently because I decided I'm going to do this kind of watch through of the Arrowverse and all the offshoots of that early stage of the multiverse that they created on those shows. Smallville is one of the Earths that was established in this DC multiverse in the Arrowverse days. So because I was watching through all these shows, Smallville was on my list to check out. And I'm loving this. I think after watching Smallville, Tom Welling is my favorite Clark Kent. Michael Rosenbaum is now my favorite Lex Luthor. And then you have other greats. My favorite Jonathan Kent is John Schneider. My favorite Martha Kent is Annette O'Toole. You have these great characters that are brought to life by these great actors. It's a show I never gave myself a chance to watch until recently. I'm glad I finally did because it's such a pleasure. It's such a gem to watch. It's heartfelt. It has great messaging. Yeah, it does have the villain of the week or the freak of the week as they like to call it sometimes. It has that element to it. I mean, these are 22 episode seasons, so sometimes you have to fill them out with a little bit of filler. The writers were in crunch sometimes, had to make these episodes quick and snappy. And then I'm just going into the history. I've learned so much about how Smallville was created, the process behind which that show came to be, off of the podcast Talkville starring Tom Welling and Michael Rosenbaum. They have a podcast they're actually doing right now. They're on season 8 of Smallville. I'm pretty behind on that podcast. I've only gotten up to season 3 on the Talkville podcast. Their conversations, there's so much that's unraveled about how Smallville came to be, how their experience was on set, what they did episode to episode. Sometimes they'll remember what they did, sometimes they won't, but it's just a great insight into how this show happened. And Smallville, as it is, it was a record breaker for the CW or the WB at the time. It was like one of the top shows, if not the top show. I might be mistaken there, but it did great numbers for that network, and it established so much for what DC TV would be for at least the next 10, 20 years. From 2001, when Smallville started, to the end of Superman and Lois recently, that is the span of which we got this version of DC television. And all of the shows that came after, Arrow, Flash, Black Lightning, Supergirl, Legends of Tomorrow, Superman and Lois, these shows owe so much to what Smallville did. And, you know, they're resting on the shoulders of Smallville. Just going back to the show has been so fun. There's times when I can kind of nitpick and be like, it's a little cringy. The early seasons are like high school teen drama that I'm not crazy about, but I'm also kind of fascinated with because it's in that early 2000s era. So it's fun to hear the music because I grew up in the early 2000s. So not in high school. I wasn't in high school until the early 2010s, but my childhood, I grew up in the early 2000s. I was a 90s kid, sort of, born in 97, so I didn't experience the 90s, but I experienced the early 2000s. It's so fun hearing the music that I was familiar with in that era, the way that kids dress, act, at least the way they were portrayed on TV. It's been fun to kind of have this blast to the past, to my past. So it's been fun to watch this. Of course, it's really hilarious when you have 20-year-olds playing teenagers, but that's just how that's how it worked, or at least back then, that's how it worked. It's a gem of a show that wouldn't be made today just because television television as it stands today is so different from how it used to be. It's this time capsule. The show is kind of this time capsule. It's just a great representation of Superman, the Superman lore, everything dealing with his past with Krypton and who he is, who he's expected to be by both Jonathan Kent and Martha. And I'm speaking about Clark Kent, but who he's expected to be by all these people. Everybody has expectations for Clark. And so it's a show about identity. Who are you? That's what the show does so well, because it's not about what can we do to Clark Kent. He's basically invulnerable except for like kryptonite, but he has all these different emotions. You know, he wishes he was more like everybody else, but he has to be so different. It's a story about the outsider. It's a story about individuality and identity, who you are as you grow into the adult, the person that you're going to be. And that's what I love about this show. And it's so earnest in its portrayal of Clark's journey to eventually become Superman. He's so hesitant to it, and that's such an odd idea. Something I've kind of was foreign to me when I went into Smallville was that, you know, I'm used to these portrayals of, Henry Cavill Superman kind of did this, of I don't know if this is who I'm supposed to be. It kind of dealt with that identity, but then he just jumps into it and he's Superman. Of course, we had the Christopher Reeve story that you don't really spend a lot of time with him dealing with his Kryptonian heritage. He just kind of becomes Superman, and that's who he is. And I love Christopher Reeve in the role, but we never had that development of him questioning whether or not this is who he wants to be, if this is who he should be. And it's kind of a with great power comes great responsibility story, but you get that with Superman. I love that portrayal, what they did here with Smallville. So I'm still going through Smallville. I'm in season 7, and I've still got 3 more seasons after season 7 to watch. There's 10 seasons total. So I'm excited to get into more of Smallville. I've seen so much of it already, but there's still so much left for me to watch too and experience. So I went on a tangent there just talking about my new experience with Smallville. Hey everyone, thanks so much for checking out that clip from my new podcast, Talking Movies and More. It will be intercut with the podcast we're doing called The Assembly Cut I'm doing with Hayden Smallville, and I hope you stick around and check out that podcast as well. Be sure to check it out here on YouTube or your favorite podcasting platform, either Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Go down in the comment section, let me know what you thought of the topic we discussed here today. Thank you so much for checking this video out. Remember to hit that like button, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to get notified when new videos go live to this channel. When you do that, it always helps me out, and I greatly appreciate it. Hope you all have an awesome and a fantastic day, and I'll see you in the next video.